Okay.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, can you see me?
Yep, I can see you. You can see me?
Yes.
All right. See? You're not bad with the technology, man.
I went through. I tell you, I went through the whole jungle and finally got here.
Well,
Oh
I
man.
mean, that's, with the life that you've had, I don't think this technology is that much of a problem for you. You're a survivor,
Yeah.
you know? So
Yeah.
I want to tell you, it is quite an honor for me that you have accepted to come on the program with me. So I just want to say right off the bat, I really, really appreciate your spending some time with me this afternoon. So I don't even know where to start with you because so for example, here's what I found out. Your first movie role was in 1974, 45 years ago, right?
Correct.
But don't you have, let's see, you have 3 movies. You have Runaway Killer in post-production. Hardware Heroes is filming, and Junkers is in pre-production. That's three movies going on right now.
But and then I got I'm getting ready to do a whole series on Bruce Lee. Basically, I want to get the record straight. I'm going to do the Birth of Jpd, because actually Jpd was born in Jimmy Lee's house the day after the Wong Jak Man fight. Now, well, I don't call it a fight, I call it a running contest. And I wanted to keep the record straight because after Bruce Lee died, they had all kinds of people that wasn't there saying that it was a even match, or even Wong Jak Man beat Bruce Lee. There was no fight, and I wanted to show that. And I asked Linda what happened, and she collaborated that what Bruce Lee told me on the phone right after the fight was exactly what she saw. And I said, well, who was there? Everybody said, well, a whole bunch of people was there. He said, well, it was only Jimmy and me was there for Bruce, and the rest of them, about 10 of those guys from Wong Jak Man's Kung Fu school.
Right.
So I want to keep that record straight and film the movie called The Birth of Jpd, because the next day I went to see Bruce. I couldn't make it out there because I have a church that's about an hour and a half from Oakland, and I just got transferred there, so I couldn't come out and see the fight.
Right.
So afterwards, he called me, and Jimmy called me actually and said, Leo, this is Jimmy. I said, what happened? He said, well, here, Bruce, I'll tell you. So Bruce got on the phone, and he said, that blankety-blank guy ran from me, and he scratched me on my back, and finally he stumbled. I got on top of him, and he started screaming in Chinese, I give up, don't hit me, don't hurt me. He said, well, you take your lackeys and get the hell out of here. Now, that's exactly what he told me on the phone. Right. So I asked Linda a couple of years ago when I saw her, and she said, well, what he told you is exactly what I saw. Yeah. I said, okay, then. So we got the story right. And so now I'm reading all this stuff, and they coming out and said, well, Wong Jak Man beat him and all this business. So the whole story is that what happened was, after the fight on Monday, they went over to where Wong Jak Man was working, that restaurant over there, and they stood at the doorway, and he was wiping the table and had a pot of tea in his hand. When he looked up, he thought he saw 2 ghosts, I guess, but he dropped that teapot and spilled tea all over the place. Yeah. And Jimmy and Bruce smiled and turned around and walked out.
Did he tell you anything? Did he tell you anything about? Did he tell you anything about the technical aspects of the fight?
Well, he said actually, he said, you know, I tried to forward blast him, and he's running from me. I couldn't get him. I hit him back in the head a couple of times. I said, Bruce, you know what I would have done? I would have grabbed him by the back of his neck, jerked him back, and I would have bludgeoned him with my right hand I'd
Right.
uppercut him, sweep his feet from under him, stomp him.
Right.
I said, I would do that. He said, well, I got to do something. Well, the very next day when I went there, he was in the garage, and I said, Jimmy, where's Bruce? He said, he's in the garage. So I went there and stood by the steps, and he had a glove hanging from a chain, and he was popping that thing with jabs and hooks.
Right.
Bouncing around like Muhammad Ali, which was completely different than the Wing Chun stance he was using before that. And so when he got done, he saw me standing there. He said, hey, Leo, you know what I'm going to call my new system? I said, what? He said, Jeet Kune Do. I said, what in the hell is that? He said, the way of the stopping fist, intercepting fist. And I said, oh, I said, okay. So that was the birth of JKD. And then, of course, after that, he moved and he refined it much more when he got to LA.
Right.
And of course, I was with him until he left for Hong Kong and made Stardom.
Yeah.
But
So
I hung out with him. I come down here and he would refine that. Yeah.
But now you have a boxing background, so you helped him with the boxing, right?
Yeah, I helped him. I suggested to him. Although I got people were denying that they were not there. So you got these second, third generation guys who got the attitude. They said, oh, Leo Fong didn't teach me anything. You know, I had 25 fights in the ring, and I had 15 kind of like underground fights.
Are those the smokers? They call those the smokers in Arkansas?
They call smokers. Well, we in Arkansas that we had this abandoned schoolhouse, and they're sitting there. So these two jokers from high school would put up would ask guys that were interested in boxing during the school class during the week and say, hey, you guys want to fight?
Yeah.
So they asked me one time.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. And it was my first fight. So I went over there and I looked up and they matched me up with this guy. I was 118 pounds, and this guy Dave Hodge, he was 165. He was the quarterback on the high school football team, Far City, Arkansas high school team. And I said, wait a minute, you guys, Dave is too big for me. And he said, these two jokers says, hey, Fong, you want to fight or not? I said, oh, okay, I didn't want to chicken out. So what happened was they had a roped off of a stage and then nothing but a wall in the back there. And so I started swinging at him, and he just stepped back and hit me with right hand and knocked me into that wall. And my head bounced off that wall, and I slid down. And then finally they counted me out. They had a cowbell, and they counted me out. And so I got up, and I shook my head, a little dizzy, but I was okay. So I walked home. So I said, I hope my mom and dad wasn't up. So they were asleep. I sneaked in the back door and went to bed, and I was aching. My head was aching all night. But, you know, I didn't feel bad. I was analyzing, why in the hell did I get beat by this guy?
Right.
So his size didn't have anything to do with it. So I got to think, wait a minute. I need to be more cautious and not going swinging, thinking I'm going to overwhelm him with punches.
Yeah.
So I thought our strategy. So the next day I got up and I had a pillow hanging up in my room, and I started popping them with jabs and stuff. And then of course I had a Barney Ross book, Fundamental Boxing. I still have it here.
Wow.
And I was reading that. And so when I went to school on Monday, these two jokers said, hey, Fong, we're going to have another match next week. You want to fight? And I said, yeah. And they look at me and said, no shit. You serious? I said, yeah. But match me with somebody more my size. So they said, okay. I said, I'm not going to fight unless you match me with somebody more my size.
Right.
So they fight. The guy looks like about 10 pounds bigger than me, heavier than me. So they had the cowbell and ring, and I went out there and I moved around. I dipped my leg, and I hit him with a left hook and right cross, and down he went. He was out. Yeah. And because I had been studying all this stuff from, you don't swing like these old country rednecks over there in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So I knocked him out, and then they had about almost had 10 of those fights, and until those guys quit doing it. Yeah. I knocked all 9 of them. I won next 9 straight.
I heard that you were known for your left hook.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the left hook, when I used to fight in collegiate fighting, you know, I went to Hendrix College in Conway, Arkansas,
Mm-hmm.
and I was a member of the boxing team. They had a boxing team there.
Mm-hmm.
And so so I was in some of those matches, I would sit next to a guy, and he would always knock out somebody with a left hook, and he was something to see.
Yeah.
He could move around, all of a sudden explode, and the guy, and you could hear it all over the arena, you know, pop, and
Yeah.
down this guy goes. So I sat next to him one day, and I said, you know, I've been watching you, you know, interesting. I said, you know, everybody knows you got left hook. How come you get knocked out by it? He said, well, they don't know when it's coming. And so I started throwing, going back down to the gym and start throwing punches. And every time I throw, I would throw that it would hook, would end up, you know, delivering the hook.
Right.
And so anyway, when I fight, so I began to learn from different guys that were good, different small points. And one of the things to make a hook works is you fake by dipping your leg, and then you throw, because
Mm-hmm.
when you dip your front foot,
Mm-hmm.
the guy he flinch. Usually when they flinch, they drop the right hand.
Yes.
And then bingo, you hit. And so I did that. And I scored 18 straight knocks with that left hook.
Wow.
And then of course I got knocked out three.
Wow.
I got knocked out 3 times too, you
Yeah.
know. And then when I came to California in 1954, all I knew was how to box. But I thought the martial arts, the karate and stuff like that was better. So I would start taking that stuff, and until I met Bruce Lee in 1962.
Right. Now
Yeah.
you mentioned books a few minutes ago, and
Yeah.
Can you even remember how many books you've written?
I think I've written martial arts books. I've written about 25 martial arts books, and I've written probably about that many inspirational books.
Oh, okay.
Like for instance, you know, after I did a couple of books on with O'Hara, like Toilet Foot, Sulam,
Yeah.
power training, all that.
Yeah.
I started thinking, I said, well, since I'm a retired Methodist preacher, I said, I better start doing tapes of my sermons and look at it and see if I can turn into, see, I don't want to get religious and try to convert people. I just want to share the part, the integral part that faith plays in your life.
Right.
And so I started looking at the sermons. So one of the things I get complimented when I was preaching, they said, man, you got some pretty creative titles. So I wrote, the last book I wrote was, if life sucks, God's still good. And then,
Yeah.
so I started writing those books like that. And then, you know, and then people start, I was giving more than I was selling, actually, because I go to church and I pass them out to people. And then sometimes people buy it, and I would sign autographs and sell it.
Yeah.
But altogether, I think I've done close to 50 books.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about that, because I know that Lamar Davis is an associate of yours. You guys actually have an event coming up. Lamar is a religious guy. And so I wanted to ask you the same question I asked him. Was there ever any conflict for you in being a Methodist minister and a martial artist at the same time?
No, never had a conflict with me, because although the hierarchies of the Methodist Church didn't understand that, so I kept my martial arts life quiet. I would go out of town, and I go out of town and do seminars, and I just told them, well, I got, you know, take vacation time, go. Right. But few of my church members who knew me, they knew I was a martial artist, and
Okay.
that I practiced every day. And then I would, and later, after I decided not to get involved in Methodist politics and try to move up the ladder, I said, I'm just happy with my small church. They
Yeah.
know me. They allow me to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So Ron Marchini and I went into partnership. Ron was, he fought Chuck Norris, Bill Wallace, and all these guys.
Yes.
And so anyway, Ron and I opened up 6 karate schools. It's called Marchini Fong Karate Schools.
Right.
And
I remember.
and so
Yeah.
so we bought a billboard, and I think a billboard was $600 a month, and so they moved it around town, and so I lived in Stockton, California, and I was serving the church there. About 250 members at St. Mark's United Methodist Church. So anyway, finally they realized I'm a martial artist. They all were proud. They said, "Oh, our minister's he's a karate champion, or karate master."
Yeah.
and they would see that sign there, and then a couple of ministers was jealous, so they said, "I don't know what he does with his time. I'm sure the church is suffering from him doing all these other activities and stuff," and they would, really bad mouthing me.
Right.
But I paid no attention to him. I said, "Well, that's too bad. I'd rather be training a couple of hours to go down here and joining you guys with donuts and coffee and getting fat."
Right, exactly. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to ask you that. What do you do now to stay in shape? Because you just mentioned Ron Marchini, and you guys wrote Power Training in Kung Fu and Karate way back in the day.
Yeah.
So how do you stay in shape now? Because you look better than I do.
I'm 91 years old.
Wow.
Okay. I'll work out a total of maybe 6 hours a day.
Wow.
Because you see, I have sometimes on Facebook, I got one guy over there was saying some bad things about me. I said, "Well, let me tell you something. Let me ask you a question." I said, "Have you ever got your ass kicked by a 90-year-old guy?" And then finally he showed a book he bought for me, and then he apologized.
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." I said, and he admitted I didn't say it right. I said, "Well, that's okay." I said, but what I do is I have a variety of training. I hurt my shoulder. I used to go to the gym 3 times a week and lift heavy stuff. Once a month, I would bench press my maximum, one rep. I did 245-pound bench press. Okay, and then on a regular weekly basis, I would do 180-pound 6 reps, 6 sets, like bench press and standing press and curls and stuff.
Yeah.
So I used to have a 17 half-inch arm.
Whoa.
And then I hurt my shoulder, and I couldn't do push-ups. I used to do 1-arm push-up, 60 on each arm, and 150 just with two hands, 2 arms.
Yeah. Wow.
I couldn't do push-ups. I couldn't do anything, man. I was really depressed, and I said, "I'm just deteriorating." And then one morning I was awakened about 4 o'clock, and the voice inside of me said, "Go to the mall, take a 2-pound dumbbell, and go to the mall and do some Tai Chi like movement, but with weights."
Right.
And I said, "Okay." So I started walking, and as I was walking, I came up with an exercise. I would stop and do 10, 20 reps with that 2-pound dumbbell, and my shoulder just a little bit hurting, but it didn't hurt too bad. By the time I walked through that mall, I had the whole program done. Wow. Arms, chest, shoulders, arms, and doing continuous movement, circular and all that.
Right.
Completely different than what I was doing. So anyway, I developed a thing, and I started calling it Qigong. somebody said, well, your movement don't look like Qigong. I said, okay, forget that. I said, I'm going to do, call it Qigong. And my Chinese name is Fung.
Right.
And it means wind and oxygen and air. And
Okay.
Qi means energy. So I said, well, between oxygen and air, you should have a pretty good combination. So I call it Qigong. And Qigong focus on deep breathing. Because when you're born, the first thing they whack you, get a breath, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you die, the last thing you do is breathing.
Mm-hmm.
You stop breathing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's breath and energy. And not so much lifting heavy stuff, but rather doing that.
Yeah.
And because of that, I lost muscle size, but I didn't care. But I felt much better.
Right.
Today, I noticed today, I'm much faster with my punches, but it's much damaging.
Yeah.
In other words, in the old days, I'd take my 17.5 arm, I spar with these guys, I just bludgeon them. I'd take 2 or 3 punches, come right back and whack.
Right.
But now, it's much more sophisticated.
Yes.
And also, I learned pressure point hitting, so it become more accurate.
Yes.
So now, I punch right through the body or whatever the target is.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I don't have to do it with tension and anything. It's all real relaxed. It's just effortless.
Yeah. It's
what I call effortless efficiency. And so that's my training program. Okay. Even though I've got to the point, I try to like Bruce Lee said, fight without fighting. So I've taught myself out of a couple of situations. Yes. And I didn't lift my hand. And I didn't feel like I was chicken shit. In old days, I would have thought, hey, wait a minute, how come you walk away from that? You should smack the guy.
Right.
You're chicken shit. My inner voice said, you're chicken shit. Now, no, I won the fight. When I say I walk away, I said I won the fight. And that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But the main thing I think what has helped me to get this point, and all my colleagues, my boxing coach and college, everybody, all dead already. And is well, number one, my diet, yes, my exercise, my mental attitude, my faith-based attitude.
So would that be your advice for older martial artists to get themselves integrated spiritually and physically?
Yes. By all means. Yeah. See, my birthday, my wife is going to celebrate my birthday. She invited a bunch of people, and I said, well, for my gift, and if we don't make a donation, that's okay. I'll give it to my favorite charity, which is the museum over here, and my church. Okay. And I'm going to write a book, Roadmap to 90 years and plus. 90 years and beyond.
Yes.
And then in it's gonna be a series on what to eat and on exercise. Because you see, exercise, when you get to a certain point, you got to let go of all the heavy lifting. I used to go to the gym, and these guys in their 70s, now I was in my 40s, 50s, and they got bandages wrapped around their elbows, their knee, and I said, how come you all wrapped up? He said, man, I got bad knees, bad elbow. And then I said, why don't you give up on lifting heavy stuff and go lighter weight with 25 repetition and less sets? Yeah. And they said, no, I can't do that. Said, I feel like my body is deteriorating if I don't do heavy lifting. Yeah. I want to keep my strength up. So you see, so then as I look back, I realized, wait a minute, God, the Spirit led me to the right thing. I would have never thought about doing a serious exercise with 5-pound dumbbell, 10-pound dumbbell. I wouldn't even look at that. I curl. I got it all in my waist in my backyard. It's rusting. There's a 75-pound dumbbell set over there. I used to do curls with it. Yeah. But I can't lift it up now. But I don't care.
Right. Yeah. The two things you mentioned earlier, about the guy kind of being rude to you and what have you. How do you feel about the treatment of senior citizens in society nowadays?
Well, I think they can improve on it, but it depends on what area. I noticed for me, I get a lot of respect. You know, people want to help me.
Yeah.
You know, they like this. Oh no, I'll bring you a chair when everybody else supposed to stand up. And I said, no, I can stand up. And so I get a lot of respect. And then when and when I do seminars, if I tell people I can't make it, I said, why don't you take my 2 students with? They know everything I know, and they kind of backed off. But if I go, I take my students with me, which they pay their plane ticket too. So they said that's okay. So they don't mind me just sitting there, and I get up and introduce the technique, and I sit back down, and my student would do the techniques, you know, and they're okay with that, but they want me there.
Right.
And so that's the kind of compliment, you know. I keep in perspective. I don't let it get carried away. But that's how I feel now. But I feel that in general that there is a segment of people who don't respect old folks. They look at old folks as, hey, you know, you got 1 foot in the grave and the other one a banana peel, so you don't have, you know, you're gonna be gone pretty soon anyway. Yeah. But you see, that's why I'm very vigilant. They had a knockout back east for a while. There, a bunch of punks, you know, 2 or 3 together. They go and walk up to an old guy and hit him and knock him out. And called knockout. Well, one I think in California here, one guy they did that. They played that game on him, and he hit the floor, and his head hit the floor, and he died. And so when I see 3 teenagers, 2 or 3 of them together, I kind of very vigilant, you know. I keep my distance, and I said, well, I think they're gonna pick on the wrong old man if they try to. You know, and I also carry a cane with me too. You know, I don't really need it, but I do it anyway because it helps my balance. But then it's a good weapon too to have.
Yeah, actually, that brings me to the other thing that you mentioned. You mentioned being in Stockton. Stockton is where you met and trained then with Angel Cabales?
Yes, yeah. Angel was not only trained me, but he was my good friend. And then when my late wife died, I got remarried. Very happy with what I got right now. But when my late wife died, I was single. So Angel was in his 70s, and I was about 2 or 3 years. I was in my 60s when he was in his 70s.
Okay.
And so I used to meet him at Emerald Cafe, with Chinese restaurant in Stockton. He would have like to eat there at lunch, and I always joined him over there. And so he would come to my house and train me, and then we hang out sometime when I see him. He had a lot of respect for me. I didn't have to, you know, kind of cow to him like some grandmasters want you to do, right?
Yes.
Well, we're just kind of buddies, you know.
Yeah.
And so he asked me one day. He said, "Leo," he said, "I'm gonna get married. I want to find me a woman so I can get married." So I said, "Well, who is it?" He said, "I ain't found anybody. I'm going to the Philippines. You want to go with me? We'll find a wife." I said, "No." I said, "No." I said, "Angel, you know, my first marriage didn't go too good because I was 24 years old, and my mom and dad matched me up with a friend of their daughter, and it didn't work out." I said, "I don't like to match up stuff."
Right.
So, but eventually I got divorced and then got remarried, and then my second wife died. So I said, "No, Angel." So so he was gone for a while. Came back and went to Emerald Cafe. And was sitting there with this girl, and it looked like his daughter. And I was gonna walk up to him. I said, "Angel, I didn't know you had a daughter." And then he got up and he said, "I want you to meet my fiance." She looked like she was 19 years old. I mean, here's a guy 70-something years old and 19. And then but you know, show you how he is. Before he died, he had 2 kids by this woman. He had a daughter and a son.
Okay.
Gilmar is a good Eskrima door. So
Ah.
those 2 kids, I met them, and they're
Okay.
all in their 20s right now.
Right.
And I said, you know, I knew your dad. Your dad and I were good buddies.
Wow.
And so they all smiled. And I said, you know, I remember he went to the Philippines to marry your mom. But I didn't tell him the whole story. See, but I think the Angel died when he was in his 80s, and so I trained with him, and then of course I trained with Chorley Fudd, Sulam,
Right.
with T.I. Wong and Lo Bun, and then and a Korean guy called Tong Yon, but he changed his name later to John Chung, and from Korea. So I trained with him, got a black belt under him.
Okay.
But then when I met Bruce, after I got to know him, he said, "Hey Leo, how come you train so many different systems?" And I told him, "I'm trying to find the ultimate, man." He said, "Well, you know what the ultimate is?" He said, "I said, where?" So he put his finger on my chest and it's in there. Take your boxing skill,
Yeah.
and expand on it. And you got it, man. Don't give those monkeys another. He said, "Don't give those monkeys another dime."
But
No, it was funny.
so, but you know, that doesn't sound like a guy who, I read where you wrote that, I think you wrote it, Bruce Lee is one of the greatest martial artists that ever lived because of his spiritual and philosophical depth. Now, what you just said doesn't sound like a guy that's very spiritual and philosophical.
Well, yeah, but you know, sometimes Bruce Lee can skate on the surface.
Uh-huh.
But if you know him, he's very deep.
Right.
Yeah, I you know, in his house, when you go see his house, he's got 3 book shelves that reach all the way to the ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On one bookshelf is how to sell salesmanship and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at that bookshelf. It's a how to sell houses and real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Bruce, are you going to get into selling real estate?" He said, "No, man, I'm the real estate."
Yes.
So he picks up stuff from there. Then you look on this other shelf, it's all philosophy books.
Yes.
And inspirational books.
Yes.
And then the other one is all martial arts books.
Right.
Everything you can think of, wrestling, whatever it is, he had it.
Yeah.
And like he called me one day, and he said, "Leo, did you see Bob Hayes?" I said, "Why? You mean the guy that's Olympic champion, 110 meter champion?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What about him?" He said, "Well, I noticed that day he goes to the starting block in a race. It's on your mark, get set. When they get set, he said he raises heels and on the block, and then the gun goes off and bing, he's gone." He said, "You know, you push off, you can close that gap when you push off the rear leg." I said, "Well, we do that in boxing." But I didn't really think about it until he brought it up.
Right. Yeah.
And because I usually just shuffle forward with my heel up in my rear leg when I was boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't push off like this sometimes to close that gap quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, and then he would bring up other stuff from others totally unrelated sports, but
Right.
he put it to the Jeet Kune Do.
Yes. Yes.
And so now today, I fell in love with basketball because you get guys like James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
He has what they call the 2-step, and you got guys like Chris Paul, who's changed his speed when he comes down. When he'll come down the court, just bouncing the ball, real relaxed, and then when somebody started getting in front of him, he would fake to the left, and then make some little motion, and then shoot the ball and hit the basket. So I'm watching that and in my Wei Kuen Do is greatly influenced by basketball.
Ah.
I got a black belt, Klein Win. Klein used to play basketball in the Philippines in the league there.
Okay.
And he picked up my stuff real quick because I said, Klein, all you gotta do is when you face an opponent, just pretend he's a basketball player. Only his hands and feet are gonna kick at you. All you gotta do is set him up like a basketball player, fake, and then you go in and you change angles on him.
Right.
And so I got that idea from Bruce, and when he went into Jeet Kune Do, he was always moving. See, Ali, to me, I said, Ali is the greatest heavyweight champion in the world, in history.
Okay.
And the reason is, anybody that don't have good footwork cannot go all the way. But everybody that has a good footwork always champion. Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee had a whole session with Jeet Kune Do's son, John Kune. Yeah. He popped in for all kinds of information.
Right.
So Jeet Kune Do beat Jack Dempsey, who was a hard hitter. Ali made fun of Sonny Liston when he was just 18-year-old. Everybody in Floyd Mayweather has a junior has good footwork, and he's undefeated.
Yeah.
See, so footwork is very important. And who has the best footwork? It's basketball players.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
See how it's all relative.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
What else is in Wei Kuen Do? I mean, like, how much Jeet Kune Do is in Wei Kuen Do?
Well, the concept is in there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like Bruce Lee said, he's got 5 ways of attack.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have 5 ways. We can do 5 ways of attack, but it's spin off of Bruce Lee stuff.
Okay.
One is
I see.
tap and explode. You see? See, when the guy, you see the imitators, the JKD imitators are very easy to counter. They go straight back, and straight forward. And they try to imitate Bruce Lee. That's why Bruce Lee said, I turned down $1 million to do a chain of Jeet Kune Do schools. Right. I said, why? He said, because you cannot teach Jeet Kune Do to a mass of people like a cookie cutter approach.
Yeah.
He said, you have to take individual and bring out the best in him. And that's why when he told me, he said, man, the ultimate's inside of you. And that changed me from completely trying to imitate him. And I noticed that's what happened in Taekwondo. And my second Taekwondo teacher, he was kind of pudgy and tall, and he tried to get. I never can do it right because I don't do it like him. But when I got on my own, hey, I had my own kicks. So that's the thing, and that carry on in life too. That's why Bruce Lee is such a phenomenon, because he can translate his fighting skills into living skills.
Right.
And then I always wondered how come he always treated me like an equal. And one day I asked him, I said, Bruce, how come you want me on the cover of Black Belt magazine? He said, well, I talked to Mito. I said, I'm nobody in martial arts. He said, no, man. He said, how many martial artists are preachers like you? I mean, legitimately. You went to school and you got a church. Yeah. I said, well, you got a point there, but I said, most of my colleagues think I'm a weird. That I'm preaching peace and I'm capable of fighting. I said, man, I don't go around punching everybody. I said, for me, it's what you do with it. Yeah. You see, because I would tell my students, I said, I'm teaching you how to handle yourself in the arena of life. I mean, arena of competition, okay? Yeah. But then also how you handle yourself in the arena of life. That's a tough place, the arena of life.
But that's integration. That's what you're teaching. You're teaching integration.
Well, that's why I call Wei Kuen Do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's a way of the integrated fist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like somebody put it in Facebook the other day about they teaching all kinds of system. Each day they teach a different system.
Right.
I said, well, why don't you teach all system with one expression? That's my thing, you know.
Yeah.
And I got all that stuff from Bruce Lee,
Right.
you know. So integration, because that's why martial arts to me is an integral part of my living philosophy.
Yes.
Well as my faith in God.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I think God ordained martial arts too. But you have to reach a certain spiritual point. There's a superficial one where it's about fighting, but you got to go beyond that. When you go beyond that, you hit the spiritual level.
Right.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that way you can deal with depression. You can deal with illness,
Yes.
mental and spiritual,
Yes.
and physical, all these things.
Right. It's what I read here. It is the spiritual dimension that can take the average martial artist to a high level of proficiency.
Exactly, that's true.
Yes.
You see, like I always, how I got into church when I was only about 14 years old.
Mm-hmm.
See, my parents was very strict. They won't let me go anywhere. They won't let me go anywhere after school, and so they keep me working at a grocery store.
Okay.
A little mom and pop grocery store. The only time they let me go is go to church on Sunday.
Right.
So I go to church on Sunday. I go early. I come back late. Well, what happened was my buddy J.T. King, he and I would crawl under the church, and I would steal some cigarettes from the store, and we would smoke under the church. So one day I said to JT, JT, let's go inside and see what's going on in there. Let's see what's going on in there. So we went in there, and the lady said, so what grade are you boys in? I said, well, 6th grade. And they said, well, you go in this class. And so we went in the class, and it just so happened that the teacher was teaching us a class on David and Goliath.
Okay.
And she talked about how David swung that slingshot and hit him in between the eye and killed him. So that interested me. I said, man, that's something I want to learn. so I started listening to her, and then I never forgot that lesson. Now I'm gonna, one of my future books I'm gonna write how David defeated Goliath.
Yes.
Number one, David didn't get in his face. He kept distance.
Right.
Number two, he was accurate.
Right.
Number three, his two was simple. A pebble and a sling.
Yeah.
Goliath had the javelin, sword, all kinds of stuff in the armor.
Yeah.
Right. He was 9 feet tall. It didn't make any difference.
Yeah.
So then King Saul said to David, said, I can't talk you out of going out there and facing him, so you might as well put on my armor. And so David put on his armor, and he fell down. He gets up and he said, I can't go with this. I'm just going to go with who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, when we try to be like our instructor and be like him,
right,
we sacrifice and we trade off what the potential we have for imitating somebody else.
Yeah.
The armor. See? Yeah. So you see the relationship between that story and real combat.
I wanted to make sure, because I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I wanted to make sure that story that you just told and the way that you relate it to life, what is it about religion that people think they understand, but they get it wrong?
Well, I think what they got wrong is they don't include how to live in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about going to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
They're preparing for And you see some of these fundamentalist preachers said, uh, you got to go to prepare for heaven. Everything you do here is got to make sure you get accepted at the pearly gates.
Mm-hmm.
My philosophy is, hey, tomorrow take care of itself. I don't. When I get to pearly gates, I'll talk my way in. I don't care. I'm going to live the best I know how.
Yeah.
And I think the one of the best things, one of the most important things you got to do is integrity.
Right.
You can't go around cheating somebody. You go and lying to somebody.
Right.
But have integrity. Be honest.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing you're going to have left when you die. Your reputation you can't take with it. Somebody else owns it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I feel about it. And so when I tell somebody, and I did a lot of movie deals and stuff, I said, I'll be there. Okay, I agree on the price.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it goes overpriced, I still settle for that. If I tell somebody, okay, I'll do it for this much a day, and if I have to spend more money getting transportation and all that, I didn't include it, so I didn't say it, so I don't have to ask. I'm not going to go ask and say, well, hey, can you add more?
Yeah.
I don't do it.
Yeah.
So if I say I'll be there a certain time, I will, unless traffic is bad or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But that's, to me, integrity is the most important thing, and that's the only thing when you go to the grave. That's the only thing you're taking with you.
Yeah. Hey, did Bruce Lee help you with the movie stuff in any way? Did he pave the way, or did he give you any advice on it?
Well, Bruce Lee kind of inspired me.
Okay.
But main thing, what motivated me to be an actor is I'm a type of person who, you say no, I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And because I was brought up, I came to the United States when I was 5 years old, and all I could hear, people had a nickname. I mean, had a racist label for everybody.
Yeah.
They call me Chink, and so what they telling me said, hey man, it ain't okay to be Chinese. You Chink, you Chinaman. It ain't okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I'm gonna make it okay. That's
Right.
why Bruce Lee said to me personally, he said, I want to be a movie star. Other than making money and getting famous, I want to be a movie. I'll show everybody that we Chinese are not always relegated to being a chauffeur driver, a cook, or some menial part. I'm going to show them that we can be good as anybody else.
Okay.
And so that's why he became most of his movies. He would demonize the Japanese.
Yeah.
See how he made that guy eat up at that big sign,
Yeah.
He explained that to me, and I said, well, and he said, why can't you be a star? And well, I picked that up a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
See, and so my dad used to say to me, he said, we Chinese, you don't need to be embarrassed to speak Chinese in front of your friends. I said, because we're Hong Yun. He said, we're Hong Yun. Hong Yun means we're sweet people.
Yes.
See, and you see that unfolding now in all the ethnic groups.
Yes.
They're taking pride in who they are.
Yes.
Well, that was the basis of my going to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason I went there is at my Kung Fu school, a guy was going to do a movie. And I said, hey, Rocky, can you put me in a movie too? He looked at me and said, what makes you think you can act? I said, well, I can learn. And then he just turned around and walked off. Well, karma, works too.
Yeah.
So I get a call 2 years later. I get a call and asked if I would come to the Philippines and star in a movie. Said, could you do a like a Bruce Lee like movie? And I said, well, I don't know about that. I said, I'm interested. So they paid my way over there, gave me $600 US dollars a week, and I worked 6 weeks and had enough money to stay there and learn the whole business. But the reason when that guy turned me down, that rest of before I got that call, I was trying to figure out how to get into movies. Yes. And I remember Ron Marquis and I went to a Chinese Kung Fu movie in San Francisco, and after we got done with it, step outside and we were talking. So Ron said, I don't see why we can't be a star like that. I said, we can, Ron. Just got to look, got to keep trying. And then finally, both of us end up in the Philippines because what the mind conceive and believe it can achieve.
Yes.
And dreams do come true. Yeah. You got to pursue it after you get the dream first. Yeah. And that's what happened to us. And then same thing with the Methodist Church. Okay, I graduated from Southern Methodist University at Perkins School of Theology. So the district superintendent from my district in Arkansas comes down to recruit ministers. So all my buddies were assigned to something. I'm the only one not. So I walked up to him and I said, Brother Dodgen, everybody's got a church. You haven't asked me. So he puts his arm around me. He said, well, Brother Fong, we don't have no Chinese churches in Arkansas. And I said, wait a minute, Brother Dodgen, I don't speak Chinese.
Right.
And he said, well, we'll find you a place. Because in the Methodist Church, once they ordain you and you're in good standing, they got to give you a job.
Yes.
Okay, so yes. So we had an annual conference, and then finally, the last day of conference, he comes up to me and said, Brother Fong, we had found your place in Montana in an Indian mission. But then we found out that the last minister was killed by a bunch of Indians, a bunch of drunkards. And I said, well, then that means I got to put on my combat mindset.
Yeah.
He said, no. He said, we found another church. You go into Sacramento, California, and what's going to happen is there's a Chinese church there, and they need an ordained minister.
Okay.
And so I got out here and found out that what happened was, who's been running that church? Some lay guy works at a bank, and he's an old Chinese dude that hard-headed as he could be. So he felt intimidated when I showed up at 24 years old, and I'm his boss. So I had problems. So what happened? I spent the rest of my time, and God has a way to take care of things. I'm driving down K Street, and I saw this big sign, Jiu-Jitsu, Villa Sinlanda Dance Studio Jiu-Jitsu. I said, I'm going to stop and go, 1954. So I said, I'm going to stop and go upstairs and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I met a guy named Bill Luke, and he said, yeah, I teach jiu-jitsu here in addition to dancing. So you want to join, it's $15 a month. And so I did. And then 2 weeks later, I was always armbarring him and choking him out. And finally, we became friends.
Right.
And then once I trained with him 8 months, and then he said, I got to go to LA. And then I went over to the YMCA and trained at the judo school, and they were training a couple of Olympic guys, Walt Harris and Ben Campbell. They were in the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, so Bob Bendix one time he promoted a green belt, and then there was a bunch of old ladies from the board of on the YMCA board. They come visiting all the facilities. So they got the guy would say, this is the judo room, and they teach judo here. Judo is a Japanese art of throwing. Mm-hmm. And so we could have maybe Mr. Bendix here to demonstrate what it's like. So he looks at me and says, hey, Fong, come here. Throw a punch. So I go, bam, throw one out there like that. And he reaches nothing but air. He said, God damn it, don't you know how to throw a punch? I said, yeah, Bob, what do you want me to do? He said, hold it out there like that. I said, okay. I did it. He grabbed my arm and slammed me to the mat. Of course, I knew how to fall.
Right.
And so the lady comes up to me and said, "Oh, son, are you hurt? That looks like it was very, very hard." I said, "No, ma'am." I said, "We learn how to fall. You see, when I slap like that," I said, "I broke my fall."
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, that was the end of my judo thing. I didn't go back next time because Bob Bendix and I didn't get along. And so then somebody says, "Hey, there's a Taekwondo student out in Sacramento State University." So I found out, and his name was Chong Yip Yong, and I talked him into coming to my church. We used a social hall during the week, and he taught me. He taught 4 or 5 of the firemen on the fire department in Sacramento and me for about 3 years, and finally he decided he had to go back to Korea. And then next thing I knew, he sent me a first-degree black belt in judo. Then he had another Korean guy come, and I trained with him a while, but I didn't really care for him.
Yeah.
And then so Jimmy Lee, I was training in Siloam in San Francisco, and Jimmy Lee, I met Jimmy Lee there, and then later Jimmy said he had a falling out with T.Y. Wong, and then so Jimmy said, "I'm gonna go teach class in my garage." I said, "You want to go?" I said, "Okay, I'll go with you, Jimmy." Yeah. So I trained with him about 8 months, and then he said to me one day, he said, "Hey, you want to go to Wally J's luau?" And I said, "What's going on there?" He said, "There's a young guy going to demonstrate, and he's a fantastic. He's only 21 years old." I said, "Man, he's too young." He said, "No, you come and see him." So I went, and who was it? It was Bruce Lee.
Right.
He got on the stage, and he said, "Anybody want to stop my punch?" He said, "I'm not going to hit you in the eye, but I want to tap you on the forehead." So he got some old football player type, get up there, boom. And the guy, he was so fast, the guy was about a minute late. And then he said, "Okay, you weren't ready. You ready?" Boom, the same thing. And he did. Another guy came up and tried. Said, "Let me try it." Same thing. Yeah. And then he put on blindfold, and he was trapping everybody with his blindfold on. And so I said, "That guy's outstanding."
Yeah.
And Jimmy said, "Yeah, he's going to come. He's going to stay at my house, and then he wants to get some guys together. So you can come over, on Monday." So we went there, and that's when I met him personally.
Right.
And then a few months later, he moved to Jimmy's house, started teaching in Oakland, and that's where I kind of hung out with him every Friday. I would drive from Stockton from my church to see him on Friday and hung out with him. And
let me ask you this, right? Because
yeah.
I've got I got to get to the airport. I got to ask you 2 things.
Okay.
Was Bruce Lee a good fighter?
Yeah, he had a mind of a fighter.
Okay.
And he was good. I think anyone would fight him would have a problem.
Okay.
But also too, you got to understand, Bruce Lee was a human being.
Yeah.
And when people ask me in restaurants, Chinese restaurants, said, "Can Bruce Lee beat everybody?" I said, "No." I said, at that time when Sugar Ray Leonard was around, I said, I don't think he can beat Sugar Ray Leonard. He said, "Really? He couldn't beat?" And I said, "If he fought by boxing rules, Sugar Ray Leonard would beat him."
Yes.
I said, "I'm sure that if he became a professional boxer, he would be a contender. Yes. He might even be champion, world champion." But right. I said, those guys, in boxing, nobody dominates anybody for very long.
Yeah.
So I would say that's where he's at. He's now right now, people didn't know him, thinks he can walk on water, but I know. See, I sparred with him before. I held my own against him because I use boxing.
Yes.
And the main thing you got to do is he's fast, but you keep distance. And he comes straight in on you. So keep distance, wait the last second, and you just do a half circle and move laterally. And Pacquiao would give him a hard time.
Yeah.
Pacquiao said, I was inspired by Bruce Lee.
Right.
Yeah, I went to Pacquiao's house, and he had Bruce Lee's painting over his head.
Wow.
Yeah. No, but he Bruce Lee, though, he's a legitimate fighter. He was just a movie star. But a lot of stuff he did on the movies was doesn't work on You know, that's a lot of his students, his imitators. They learn how to fight by watching the fights on his movies.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now the last question: was there ever a dream to do movies with Bruce Lee?
Yeah. Well, you know, he was doing. He and James Coburn went to India. Went to India. I don't know. You know that episode. Went to India to look for location.
Yes.
And then he told me that at that time, he said, you know, when I get back, I want to talk to you about being give me a part in my movie.
Wow.
But that movie didn't get off the ground.
Yeah.
Later, they sold it to EFCO Embassy, and they casted David Carradine as the lead in it.
Yeah.
Called Circle of Iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So that was my. But then after the year after Bruce Lee died, I went to Hong Kong and I connected with Unicorn Chan.
Yes.
And Chaplin Chang. Chaplin Chang was a production manager on Under the Dragon.
Yes. Yes.
And so Chaplin introduced me to the martial arts magazine in Hong Kong, and they interviewed me along with the article that they had already done with Bruce Lee after he died. And so I hung out with Unicorn, and Unicorn was one that took Bruce Lee around to all the different movie places to see if we can get him a job.
Right. Yeah.
Shaw Brothers, Runner and Shaw offered $150 a month, $150 a week. And then Bruce said, hell with that, I don't want that. So then what got Raymond Chow's attention was he was working for Runner and Shaw. So he was watching TV, and one day they had some Tai Chi guy letting everybody punch him in the stomach. And Bruce was on the program. So he said, hey, let me try that. So he got up and went over and hit the guy in the head and knocked him out. and when he did that, Raymond Chow saw the TV thing, and he said to his wife, he said, you know, you see that? I want you to go and find out where that kid is. I want to sign him up.
Yeah.
So he asked Bruce what he wanted for a movie. He said, 10 grand. So he said, I'll give it to you. Sign you up for 3 pictures. So they went to Thailand and did Big Balls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of his movie career.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the story that happened. And that they told me about that in Chaplin Chan told me about that in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is if you and Bruce Lee had collaborated on something, I am sure it would have been greater than excellent, man.
No, he was a gifted filmmaker. He knew how to capture the audience because he knew how to in life. He knew how to make you interested in what he does.
Yeah, but I'm looking here at your credits: 29 credits as an actor, 15 credits as a writer, and 17 credits as a producer. I think that you've done a great job. You know, we didn't have Bruce Lee, but we had Leo Fong, and I want to say thank you so much, sir, for spending some time with me here. And I hope we can do it again because there's more questions I have for you. But
it's I'm my son is he had him to start working on my autobiography.
Yes,
and it's such a big book. I said, well, let's make it into 6 parts.
Yeah,
6 parts because when you talk about martial arts, ministry, movies,
right,
and dealing with the social environment in Arkansas, that's right there. It's a 500-page book.
Yeah.
So I said, just break it up into 100 pages of each, and then we got 6 books.
I hope that this little talk between the two of us helps to bring the public even more awareness of just who Leo Fong is and what a great martial art treasure you are for everyone, sir. I really, really appreciate your spending some time.
Well, I appreciate you giving the venue to share my stuff with the audience.
You're very welcome, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Thank you so much.
You take care, and I'll see you again.
If you ever come out to LA, let me know.
I will. I got your phone number and everything, so I will.
Yeah. Just
Okay,
give me
sir.
a call anytime. You want to talk or whatever. You got a question? Just give me a call.
I will. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Take care.
All right, Dwight. Thank you. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.